This is the Visconti Homo Sapiens, the Rolex of fountain pens. It isn't just beautiful, it's built to be used, carried, and loved every single day. With its volcanic lava body, ingenious locking mechanism, and instantly recognizable design, it's a true grail pen, one that's left a permanent mark on the fountain pen world and more than earns its place in our Fountain Pen Hall of Fame. Thank you everybody for joining me today for this momentous occasion where we here at Goulet Pens are continuing on the video series that we're calling the Goulet Fountain Pen Hall of Fame, recognizing significant and meaningful fountain pens that have helped to shape our fountain pen lives and the fountain pen community as a whole. Now, we started out with the Pilot Vanishing Point, which was a strong start, followed by the Lamy 2000, and today we're continuing with another icon. And as always, I'm looking at pens still being made today, sold continuously for at least 10 years, and excelling in at least 3 of 5 categories, namely significance, innovation, aesthetics, utility, and writing experience. Yes, today I will be inducting the Visconti Homo Sapiens. Visconti has been around for nearly 40 years at this point, established in 1988 in Florence, Italy. They've been known for innovative designs and a lot of ingenuity around pen themes and materials. The Homo Sapiens was introduced in 2010 and has easily become their most iconic pen, recognizable to nearly everybody who's, kind of immersed in the pen world. Now, it's worth mentioning that this pen falls into more of a luxury price range, with many variants created as limited editions costing well over $1,000. So this is not most people's introductory pen. Let's talk about our 5 Goulet Fountain Pen Hall of Fame categories and which of them the Homo Sapiens meets and why. Significance. For better or worse, this pen gets talked about a lot in the pen community. When it was introduced, there really was nothing else like it. It had many innovations, which I'll cover in the next category, and even to today, it remains unique and recognizable for a lot of these innovations. Now, because of its recognizability, its reputation, and high regard by many, I consider this to be a pen of high significance. Innovation. We have a lot to talk about here, and easily I will rank this pen as one of very high innovation. Now, there are several aspects of it that stood out when the pen first came out, but even today, there are still some aspects of it that no one else has duplicated. The most important innovation is the material for the pen itself, the most iconic being the volcanic resin. It was a new material that no one had ever developed before, or since, honestly, in a pen, and it's made from volcanic rock from Mount Etna in Sicily. They pulverize the rock and cast it into resin, which makes it a denser, more durable, and smoother feeling material than just the raw rock. The end result is a deep black pen that has kind of a unique feel to it. If you're familiar with hard rubber pens, or often called ebonite, it has sort of a feel like that because both these materials are hygroscopic, meaning that they can absorb moisture. If your fingers feel oily or sweaty, the material will sort of wick away some of that from your fingers, and you'll get a bit firmer grip than you would with metal or plastic pens. Visconti's also used other innovative materials in the Homo Sapiens, usually in their limited editions. They've used resins with ribbons of material in them for many of their pens, which look really beautiful and are kind of unique resins you don't see most other pens. They've also done materials like carbon moire, a pressed carbon fiber, which is quite cutting edge. Another innovation was the hook safe lock cap design. This design allows you to cap and uncap the pen with only 1/5 of a rotation, the least amount of rotation of any screw cap pen design that I've seen. It's secure, it's functionally convenient, and it looks really interesting too. They have many variants of the Homo Sapiens, but the first and most iconic was the Homo Sapiens Bronze Age, which uses solid bronze trim. Now, I don't know if Visconti was the first to do this, but it's certainly something that's not done very much, and bronze trim is better known on this pen than I think any other pen made today. And the final innovation that I'll cover here today is the filling system. They have what they call a double reservoir power filler, which is kind of a variant of a vacuum filling pen. There's the main reservoir that is a shutoff valve, but then it has a second one that is behind the feed that's not on the shutoff valve. So basically it allows you to write with the pen without having to unscrew the knob on the back. This allows you to write for long periods while you keep the ink reservoir sealed closed. When you need more ink in the smaller reservoir, you just unscrew the knob on the back to let the ink down into that smaller reservoir, then close it back up, and you don't have to mess with that knob at all while you write. Aesthetics. I think this category is a big win for the Homo sapiens. The overall proportions of the pen are very pleasing to the eye. They have a distinctive curved bridge clip designed after the famous Ponte Vecchio bridge in Florence, Italy. I think that the trim elements on this pen are just right. Enough to look fancy, but not dominating the pen and looking, ostentatious. There are a lot of different colors and materials for this pen. Now, if we're talking the original lava resin version, like the Bronze Age or Dark Age, we're basically looking at a matte black pen, which is gonna be pretty universally appealing. And they remain the most popular of all the Homo sapiens. Then things can get a little wilder when we get into the special and limited editions, often with demonstrator aspects, with brighter resins and lots of color. Now you can get into some special materials like carbon fiber and the carbon moire and ember. The nib itself is attractive with clean imprinting of Visconti's logo. Now, depending on the trim, you could see yellow gold, rhodium plated, black PVD, or maybe some other unique finishes on the nib and on the trim. They recently even did a skeleton nib on the Homo Sapiens full demo limited edition, which in and of itself is a really attractive looking pen. Utility. All right, when we're talking about the overall utility or the function of the Homo Sapiens, there are some major wins and there's a few compromises, right? So some wins would be the durability of the pen, especially the lava resin. Now, I've personally been using my Homo Sapiens Bronze Age for about a decade, with probably about 4.5 years of that where it was my daily carry pen that I kept in a pen sleeve in my pocket. Now, it's still rock solid, even though you can see that the years of love that I've given it are showing a little bit. Many of the features I mentioned earlier under innovation also apply to the utility of the pen too. The hook safe lock cap, I think, is actually the #1 functional utility on this pen. The springy inner cap there, also, it's part of what makes the hook safe lock work, but it also does a really good job of keeping the pen sealed, so it's pretty good at keeping the nib from drying out. The standard power filler is simple, and I really enjoy using it, and it holds more than your average pen's worth of ink. Now with the double reservoir power filler mechanism that's on the higher end pens, you really get a lot higher ink capacity, and the extra utility of that double reservoir thing is really nice. Now, one drawback with this filling mechanism, and this isn't just for the Homo Sapiens, but it's really all vacuum filling pens, they can kind of be a pain to clean out thoroughly. And the mechanism isn't user serviceable, so there's no taking this apart to kind of cheat and use a bulb syringe or anything. You just have to essentially flush and fill it over and over again. Now, personally, I tend to either use the same ink or maybe inks within the same color family so that I keep my cleaning down to a minimum on this pen. But if you're like a serial ink sampler or you like to use really high shimmer inks and stuff like that, maybe use a different pen for that because it's gonna be kind of a pain in this one. Now, one drawback that I found when daily carrying my Homo Sapiens Bronze Age is that there is no ink window. Now, it's not a huge deal, but it's definitely nice when you can have that. They later came out with other variants like the Crystal Dream and the Dark Crystal, which do have an ink window. So that's really nice that they have that as an option. And then many of the limited edition pens use translucent resin, so you really get full visibility there. The cap is technically postable, though I don't really ever do that with this pen, because the cap's got pretty substantial weight and the body's already pretty long. It really throws off the balance of the pen when you try to write with it posted. Now, to be totally fair and candid here, Visconti gets criticism online for some of its quality control, and it's not totally unfounded. Though I will say, this brand tends to get more people willing to pile on to a negative review faster than almost any other that I've seen. So while there have been some legit issues at times, it's not nearly as prolific as some people make it out to be. I think the grail pen nature of these pens, plus the high price point, make it an easy target for criticism. Writing experience. And now we're into our final category here, writing experience. Visconti's had a few nib changes over the years, starting out with a proprietary 23 karat palladium nib made by Bock in Germany. For a variety of reasons, they moved away from that and changed nibs a couple of times, which I think probably made the reputation a little rocky for a few years there. But since moving their nib making in-house and working out their own learning curve there, we're seeing some of the most consistent nibs from Visconti that we've ever seen. However, the years of inconsistency and nib changes means that you're likely to find a mix of reviews for the pen online in terms of how it writes, especially if it's a little bit older and if the nib, isn't the same in that review as what it might be now. So the nibs coming out these days on the Homo Sapiens are an 18 karat Visconti made gold nib, which may be plated in different finishes depending on the trim of the pen. The nibs have their own proprietary dimensions since Visconti's making them, but It's the length of the nib is going to be more like a standard number 6 nib like you'd see from Yovo, about like a Pilot number 15 nib like you see on the Pilot Custom 823, or just slightly longer than a Pelican M800 nib. I find the nibs to be pretty bouncy, not what I would feel comfortable calling a soft nib, but you definitely feel like you're getting the feel of a gold nib with this pen. The nib grinds that they offer are extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and a 1.3 millimeter stub. It's really the extra fines through mediums that are most popular for us, so that's mostly what we stock consistently. Now I find these nibs to be a bit on the wetter side, with a slightly broader line that you might have with some other brands, in particular the Japanese brands. I think that they're going to be pretty comparable to gold nibs like you would see from European brands like Lamy, Pelican, and Delta that are known for being a bit on the wetter side. Now I personally find the fine nib to be a great everyday carry nib size for me, but I believe that the extra fine is the most popular size across all of our Homo sapiens. The overall weight of the pen is a bit on the heavy side. It's going to be between 40 and 43 grams, depending on the resin or the lava materials. However, since it's really most comfortable to write with unposted anyway, the body's going to be around 23 grams, which is really very comfortable for long writing sessions. All in all, I think these are very pleasing pens to write with, and when you factor that in with all of the other features of the Homo sapiens, it's no wonder that this is a pen that so many people have on their bucket list. You can learn more about the Visconti Homo Sapiens that we currently have available with more detailed information, pictures, and technical specs on gouletpens.com. Thank you so much for joining me here for this third induction to the Goulet Fountain Pen Hall of Fame. I would love to know what you think of this one, and also what pen models do you think deserve to be considered for the next Hall of Fame? Let me know what you think in the comments on this video. I want to thank you for watching, and write on.